Okay, well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Todd Millar, President and CEO of Tech Canada. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this exclusive conversation with Michael Lee Chin and a fireside chat on wealth creation, leadership, and emerging opportunities. So let's get started. I have the pleasure of introducing Michael Lee Chin, and I'd like to share a little bit of background about Michael as we begin today's session. As founder and chairman of Portland Holdings, Michael Lee Chin is widely regarded as a visionary entrepreneur whose philosophy of doing well by doing good has resulted in extraordinary business success and inspiring philanthropic initiatives. Portland Holdings is a privately held investment company that manages public equity and private equity and has a direct ownership interest in a diversified collection of businesses operating in various countries and numerous sectors, including the financial services, insurance, tourism, agriculture, real estate development, and targeted radionuclide therapy and nuclear and clean energy. Portland is committed to building strong Indigenous businesses. And equally important, these businesses must seek to improve the social well-being of the communities in which they operate. In 2002, Portland's interest expanded internationally with the acquisition of the National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited and its subsidiaries. The NCB Financial Group is now the largest financial institution in Jamaica with accumulated profits of $2.6 billion from 2004 to 2023. Under Michael's stewardship, the NCB Group continues to grow its business regionally with offices in Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, Dutch Caribbean, and the United Kingdom. In 2007, Michael and his Portland private equity team launched what became the largest private equity fund in the Caribbean. Based on its success, followed up with funds 2 and 3, making the Caribbean region an investment destination for institutional investors. The funds have invested in and created marquee portfolio companies in the key sector, such as telecommunications, financial services, and energy generation, and have provided a profound and positive impact in many countries. Among his many personal accomplishments, Michael has received the honorary doctorate degrees from a number of distinguished universities in Canada and the Caribbean. In 2008, Michael was awarded one of Jamaica's highest national honors, the Order of Jamaica, for his significant contributions in business and philanthropy. From 2011 to 2016, Michael served as chancellor of Wilfrid Laurier University. In 2016, he was appointed chair of the Government of Jamaica's Economic Growth Council. In an effort to bolster economic development, on February 27, 2018, Michael was appointed to the Order of Ontario, the province's highest honor, reserved for those whose contributions have shaped the province, the country, and beyond. In addition, Michael sits on various boards in Canada, Germany, and throughout the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome, and please join me in welcoming Michael Lee Chin. Welcome, Michael.
Good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, Todd. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Everybody. Yeah, it's such a great pleasure to be with you today, and I know our membership are going to truly enjoy our conversation today, Michael.
It's my pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, I know you've got such a rich background and history, and I know I could probably go anywhere in our conversation today, but I want to start with maybe my first question, just kind of get things rolling here, Michael. You know, your early journey is a remarkable rags to riches story. Was there a particular moment of realization that shaped your philosophy on wealth creation, and how has that evolved as your businesses grew globally?
Yes, there was actually. Because I started my career selling mutual funds for Investors Syndicate, which is now the Investors Group, in 1977. In 1977, I was 26 years old. And being an immigrant, 26 years old, you know no one with money. But I had to sell mutual funds, so you need to find people with money. So I had to cold call, knock on doors. And when someone had said, okay, Mike, you can come and see me, I felt such a debt of gratitude that someone would really want to put their trust in me to help them to design their eventual nest egg and execute on it. I felt such a debt of gratitude that someone would put that amount of responsibility and trust in me. So when I went back to see them, before I knocked on their door, I asked myself the question, Mike, what's the highest value add you can give to this family here tonight? Because they've been so gracious in opening their doors to you and giving you the opportunity to help them to plan. And the answer kept coming back to me, Mike, make them wealthy. Oh, is there a formula that if you practice consistent, the only outcome is wealth? Because if there is such a formula, I want to know what that formula is. And I'm going to live it and be the role model for it. So that was my quest as a young man. I had to find the formula for creating wealth. Wow. So, being the engineer that I am, we go, whenever there's a question that you would like to solve for, which we go through the scientific process, which basically goes like this. Number one, whatever the question is, you observe. You see the what would come to the mind is a quintessential researcher looking through his or her microscope. You observe. Secondly, you create a hypothesis from your observations. Thirdly, you stress test the hypothesis. If it holds true, you codify it. And then you hardwire it. So it becomes permanent. So I engaged that process to the question at hand, which is there a formula that if you practice consistently, the only outcome is wealth? And I figured it out 3 years later. And I've lived it.
Wow.
And that framework drives me. It leads me. So I guess, Todd, the secret question is, what is it?
Well, exactly, Michael. I would go to. I think we're referring to the 3 Ps framework. Is that correct, Michael?
More than the 3 Ps, Todd. So think about, and we can, guys, all of you on the call here, think about any wealthy person, someone who actually created wealth, not was born into it or inherited it or won it, someone who created it. And I'm going to tell you the five things that person did. And I have to get it 5 out of 5 right, because it's a formula.
Sure.
But Todd, have you thought of someone?
I have, and I've got my pen ready as well.
That person you're thinking of, Todd, owned a few, not too many, high-quality businesses. Am I right?
That is very correct.
What's the score? 1 out of 5? What's the score? We have to get it 5 out of 5 right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right.
Okay. That person you're thinking of owns a few, not too many, high-quality businesses. Secondly, that person really understands those few businesses. Am I right, sir?
That's correct.
Thirdly, that person, those businesses are domiciled in strong long-term growth industries. Am I right, sir?
That is true. Yeah.
Number 4, that person has used other people's money to have created wealth.
Yeah, and some of his own as well, for sure. Yeah.
And lastly, fifthly, that person has simply held those few businesses for the long term.
for sure.
What's the score?
Well, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 for sure.
No, what do you mean 4 to 5? Where did I go wrong?
Well, the only part that I would say is that it wasn't solely on other people's money.
You didn't say solely. I did not say solely. I said that person has used other people's money.
Fair comment. So I'll go 5 out of 5.
What is that? Is that good?
That is fantastic.
No, it's fantastic. That's excellent. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Remember, if we are stewarding someone's future, we have to get it right. So 5 out of 5, that's how wealth is created. And by the way, those five laws together define what investing is all about. Anything else is speculation. Now, in addition to that, so you may say, Mike, okay, you can't get better than perfect.
Right.
Well, I'm going to continue by giving you another 3 characteristics of what that person did. That person practiced, in addition to the 5 laws, what we call the 3 Ps. That person predicted, P number 1, that person planned for his or her prediction, and thirdly, that person persevered with their plan. Am I right, sir?
Yep, absolutely.
What's the score?
Perfect.
What's the score? 8 out of 8. 5 plus 3, 8, right?
8 out of 8. That's right. Yep.
Okay, so those are the things that person did. So we can say that investing is all about applying those 8 principles, those 8 laws. That's investing.
Yeah.
Whether investing in any sector, whether public or private, doesn't matter. Okay, so now go back to the person you're thinking of, Todd. Let's now go to the business that person owns. The business now.
Yeah.
I'm going to describe the 10 characteristics of that business or those few businesses. And I have to get it 10 out of 10 right.
Okay.
Okay. But remember, Todd, I don't know who you're thinking about. And I've gotten it 8 out of 8 right so far.
That's right. Yep.
In terms of the behavior of the person as an investor in those few businesses. We're now going to look at the characteristics of the business that person invested in. Firstly, that business is run by an owner-operator.
Correct.
Secondly, there is heavy concentration of ownership in those few businesses. Heavy concentration of ownership.
Yes.
Thirdly, there is personal identification between the owner and the business and the owner. Personal identification. What's the score so far, Mr.
We're 3 out of 3, sir.
That person, when management makes it, when decisions are made by that business, the decisions are made in a not a democratic way. Not a democratic way. Am I right, sir?
Yes, you are. Yep.
What's the score? It's more autocratic.
Yeah. It's not a democracy. I understand that.
Not a democracy. Number 5, the management style could be described as entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Remember, we're describing the qualities of the business, Todd. Number 6, there's low turnover of management. Todd?
Yes.
What's the score?
We're 6 for 6.
Number 7, periodically, that business makes a capital allocation decision. If it's a good one, the net worth of the owners increases. If it's a bad one, net worth decreases. In other words, the risk reward is symmetrical, tantamount to flip a coin, heads they win, tails they lose. Am I right, sir? Symmetrical risk reward.
Yes. In this situation, for sure.
Number 8, the business sets goals for the long term. Number 9, the focus of the business is singular. Growth, growth, growth.
Yes.
What's the score, Todd?
Well, you're 9 out of 9 right now, for sure.
Okay, drum and
Which is you're the 10.
Drum roll for the 10th one.
Well, give me the 10.
Validation of success for that particular business is a function of customer satisfaction, sales growth, market share, margins. Am I right, sir?
Absolutely. You're 10 out of 10 and 18 out of 18 if we're counting.
So, how is that possible? I don't know who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So, by the way, that's how wealth is created. Okay, sir? Anything else? So, I've gone through tooth. I can now summarize by saying, Mr. Buffett got it right. He said, when he was asked, how come you're so wealthy? He said, look, I'm a capital allocator. That's what I do. And as a capital allocator, and that's what CEOs are supposed to do. And as a capital allocator, I wear two caps. I operate a business, and I'm an investor. And those two caps are distinct. So I have to be a great business person, a great operator, and secondly, I have to be a great investor. So the first 8 qualities I enunciated for you, the 8 out of 8, those are the qualities of great investors. The 10 qualities I enunciated for you pertaining to the business, those are the qualities of wealth creating businesses.
See, that's fascinating. I am curious though. I mean, do you have a particular example, Michael, that you would share with us? I mean, obviously, as you asked me to think about somebody that I know, but I'd be curious. Do you have an example of somebody that has demonstrated, kind of the framework that you've shared with us?
Yes, my role model.
Okay.
See, and I was fortunate that because I was searching for a methodology to create wealth. And I came across this book in 1979 entitled The Money Masters. The Money Masters, written by a New York investment counselor, John Train. And in the book, he chronicled all the various, each chapter was dedicated to the various money managers in America. And when I came across a chapter on Warren Buffett, it was my aha moment because he wasn't talking about predicting the economy to create wealth. He wasn't talking about prognosticating where the interest rates are going or where the currency is going. No. He enunciated some tactile principles that I could relate to. So we aligned. So from 1982, I would go to Omaha, Nebraska to meet Mr. Buffett at his annual general meeting. 1982, when there were only 100 of us at the Orpheum Theater in Omaha, Nebraska. So that's where I cut my teeth. And by the way, as an advisor, I have clients who back in the late 80s, up to the late 80s, invested in Berkshire Hathaway stock. And today they still own it.
Wow.
10,000 invested in Berkshire Hathaway stock in 1990 is today worth $2.3 million. Okay?
Wow.
So, and Berkshire Hathaway stock really embodies those 18 principles.
Fascinating. Right. And what a story to be connected with Warren Buffett and hearing something. You must have just hundreds of stories. I want to just take what you've shared so far, Michael. I'm just very curious about something as it relates to your perspective on, because we talk about, the qualities of leaders. And as you say, the capital allocator. When you think about leadership, and of course, we've got all our CEOs on the line and listening in, what leadership qualities do you consider non-negotiable for navigating high risk, high reward opportunities? What are the qualities of real that you see inside of leadership for successful ventures?
Firstly, let's talk about leadership. The quintessential leader should have the following 6 characteristics. Number 1, smart and creative. Number 2, hands-on. Hands-on. Number 3, hardworking. Number 4, high expectation of self. Number 5, high expectation of the organization. Number 6, the absolute owner's mentality. Because the biggest problem we have in our society can be distilled down to the principal agent problem. The way in which owners behave versus the agents of owners, how they behave. And that's the biggest problem in our society. And our job as leaders is to make our agents better owners. So what are the characteristics of a great owner? And think about how you behave at home. You own your home at home. And there's 3 basic characteristics you display at home. Number 1, you take responsibility for everything. So if there's a leak, what do? You go on the roof and fix it, right? That's number. So responsibility. Owners take responsibility. Number 2, owners are accountable, not just for their behavior, but the team's behavior. And number 3, owners suffer consequences. Okay? Now, the problem is when you leave your home and you you go to church, say, or you go to the gym, you drop that attitude. You left it at home. So if you went to the gym or to work and you see a piece of paper on the ground, you call the janitor. Or you see a soiled carpet, you don't go on your knees and scrub the carpet until it's clean. You don't do that. So if we can take that owners, those 3 qualities of owners to work, to not only to work, but everywhere we go, then that's our fastest ascendancy to fulfillment. And it's just living a life that is consistent. Now, leaders, let's go back to leaders. If you think about the 3 most heavily weighted qualities of the best leaders, they would, number 1, be leaders are strategic in their thinking. Number 2, leaders, it doesn't make sense having a strategy unless you have an execution plan. So leaders are frenetic about executing. And thirdly, leaders are fervent, passionate advocates. So strategy, execution, advocacy. The first letter of the word strategy, Todd, is S. First letter of the word execute is E. First letter of the word advocacy is A. Leaders always have a C plan, SEAC plan.
That is just gold, Michael. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with us for sure. I said at in the introduction, and something that I've read about you just really connected with me as it relates to doing well by doing good, and you've championed that philosophy. How do you ensure businesses, investments that how do you maintain that balance within business and investments of doing well by doing good?
Well, I think it's a human aspiration. All of us as human beings, we want to be fulfilled. As a human, I want to be fulfilled. You want to be fulfilled. All of us on this audience would like to be fulfilled. So logic would suggest, if that is the case, shouldn't we have a fulfillment plan, a plan for fulfillment early in our career, and we just live that plan? Right? But most of us don't have a fulfillment plan. Fortunately, I thought early in my career, what does fulfillment mean to me? Well, it means to me, and I defined it. It means to me, I have to do well. And secondly, I have to realize that I'm blessed. I'm a blessed human being. And therefore, I have to use my podium to uplift others. Right? Use my podium to uplift others, because you have lots of people who don't have weren't born or didn't have the situation that we have or had the fortune, the blessings that we had. So and it was not necessarily their fault. So those of us who are in the positions that we are in, we have to use our positions to uplift others. A business should not be any different. A business, because the business should reflect human values. That's how businesses become long-term sustainable. Human values of care, human values of empathy, human values of having aspirations for others, human values like do unto others as you'd have done unto you.
Yeah, very powerful, right? And leading with authenticity, right? I mean, just completely resonates with me, Michael, and I'm sure with so many of our listeners today. Um, Gonna switch gears a little bit on you. Hopefully this is a smooth shift. But when I think about emerging opportunities and capitalizing on the emerging opportunities that are around us, and I know that you speak on this and have all kinds of resource material on this topic, with global momentum behind nuclear energy as a clean, scalable solution. Canada has a unique opportunity given its expertise and resources. What role do you see Canadian businesses playing in this transition, and how can they position themselves to lead rather than follow?
Well, I mentioned the 3 Ps.
Yes.
Right? The 3 Ps, predict, plan, and persevere, are relevant to you as a student who are trying to choose a career. You should look into try to predict where things are going and take courses that will make your future relevant. A business should be no different. It should predict, plan, and persevere. A country should be no different. It should predict, plan, and persevere. So let me give you an example of. So when you talk about predicting, it's hard not to think that that's risky.
Yes. Yes.
But you don't have to have risky predictions. And I'll give you an example. In 2015, most countries in the world signed up to be carbon net zero by 2050.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So to become carbon net zero by 2050, we have to change our energy, our behavior, because we are facing an existential threat, the carbonization of the world, of the atmosphere. That's an existential threat to mankind. That's why at the Paris Accord 2015, most countries signed up to be carbon net zero by 2050.
Yeah.
Now the energy mix of every country could be defined as a hub and spoke model. At the hub, you have fossil fuels. Spokes are renewables. That's the energy mix of every country today. And that is, in today's context, optimization. Why is it optimization? Because fossil fuels at the hub, they have some wonderful qualities. Always on. Number 2, high energy dense. Number 3, they're scalable, but dirty. Renewables, which are complementary, they're the spokes. Renewables are not always on. They're not scalable, and they're not energy dense. But together, in today's context, that's optimum in today's context.
Yeah.
But that which is optimum today is not going to get us to 2050 carbon net zero. So we have to change our basic energy mix. So we need to replace the hub, which is fossil fuels today, with another source of energy, which has the same characteristics, but clean. The characteristics are always on, high energy dense, and scalable. And the only such source known to mankind is nuclear fission. So the energy mix of the future will be nuclear fission at the hub, complemented by complemented by the hydro, solar, renewables, complemented by renewables. That's the energy mix of the future.
Yeah.
Now, there's a saying, whenever there's a shift in the dominant source of energy, there's a shift in economic power. And there is a shift happening now. So the question is, how are we as a country gonna capitalize on that shift? How are we as a province, as individuals, as business people gonna capitalize on that shift? Because it's all about wealth creation for all of those constituencies: country, province, businesses, individuals. So
Yeah.
now, so Ontario, think about Canada. Canada is one of only six tier one nuclear countries in the world. You have Canada, the United States, Russia, China, UK, and France. Okay? But specifically within Canada, Ontario. Ontario is well endowed from uranium. We're vertically integrated straight through to the IP, the CANDU reactors. And we have an entity in Chalk River by the name of the Canadian Nuclear Laboratory, which houses all of Canada's national IP. So Ontario, and by the way, if Ontario was a country, we would be the most nuclear friendly country in the world next to France, if we were a country, because 60% of our electricity is generated from nuclear. So we are already there.
Yeah.
So now, but if we are not situationally aware as to how well we are endowed in terms of the future, because the future of energy is nuclear, and we have everything from the mines right through to the IP. If we are not situationally aware of that endowment and not capitalize on it to supply the world with goods and services coming from nuclear, like nuclear personnel, nuclear advice, and nuclear plants, which will now come in the form of small modular reactors, not necessarily the large giga nuclear plants that we're used to. They'll come in the form of small or micro modular reactors that can be made in factories, that can be deployed and installed within 30 days. And the price, because they're made in factories, we have 80 to 85% control of the cost.
Yeah. Fascinating. All right. And of course, you're citing obviously I guess that to be the Bruce nuclear power plant on Lake Huron. That's such a huge supplier of power in Ontario. And I think that Peace River, I think, there's some exploratory in Alberta going on. So sounds like, Canada really has a leadership opportunity in this space.
And we, as leaders of Canada, we have to make sure we don't lose that leadership opportunity.
And that would take me to maybe another question. I'd love your insights on this, Michael. And when you think about, our potential as Canadians and Canadian leadership, sometimes, maybe even often, I might suggest, we struggle with productivity and global competitiveness. From your perspective, what's holding Canadian businesses back? How can leaders change the narrative that we often hear?
Well, if you think about it, Todd, most of the problems that we face can be distilled down to inertia. Inertia. Okay?
Yeah.
This is how we do things. This is how we have always done it. And so if you think about most of the issues that you come across, you can distill them down to inertia. So the question is how, and inertia leads to stasis. Yeah. Okay? So the question is, how do us as leaders overcome inertia? It's all over. And it's all about physics.
Okay.
So the inertia, so it's the first law, Newton's first law of motion. Go back to physics, high school. A body will remain at rest, which is inertia, and it will stay at rest forever. Or if it is moving, will continue to move in the same direction at the same speed forever, unless an external force acts on it. So inertia can only be overcome when an external force acts. Okay? So to think about the problems that we face as business people, just assume when you go into your marketing department, your finance department, your sales department, your technology department, research and department, that you're looking at inertia coming out of your yin yang, right? And all you have to do is say, okay, I know that I'm going to invoke Newton's first law, which is I'm going to make sure I bring an external force to overcome the inertia. Okay? So that the external force can come from either capital or a fresh pair of eyes, human capital, right? Either financial capital or human capital. But bring either money or a fresh pair of eyes to the issue.
Yeah, that is very fresh thinking, Michael. I love that.
So it's all physics. Wealth creation is mathematics.
Yeah.
We have to make sure and the mathematics, the formula is defined by the future value formula. FP equals PV, the future value of money, is equal to the present value, how much capital you have today, times 1 plus the rate of return to the power T. It's mathematical. And we have to make sure that our behavior is on side of the mathematics.
Wow, fascinating. I'm going to remind our audience that they can certainly submit some questions. I know we've got a couple that I'm going to ask shortly, but and we'll welcome all of our participants that are on the line with us to put a question into the chat box or the Q&A section, and I'll be sure and get to it. Michael, just on the heels of the last comment, let's take you back in time. You're starting your career over today with the same entrepreneurial drive and vision. What industries or trends would you focus on, and why? What would you do differently to align with the opportunities of this era?
I wouldn't do anything differently. I'm doing it.
Okay.
I mentioned, and it goes back to predict, plan, and persevere. That's how I got here. And in the early 80s, I predicted where the baby boomers were going. In other words, you have to ask the question, okay, if it all boils down to predicting, you have to have a methodology by which you're confident that the methodology will always give you a positive outcome. Okay, so I had to figure out what that methodology was early in my career, and in 90, I came to the conclusion in the early 80s, 1981, 82, that demographics is the best predictor. Okay, so how did I execute on it? I was born, the baby boomers were the largest percentage of the North American population. So my hypothesis, 30% at the time, my hypothesis was the following: whatever the baby boomers do, there goes the economy. That was the basic hypothesis. Whatever we do as a cohort, there goes the economy. So the question is, 1983, I was 32. What are baby boomers doing today? Well, at 32, what do families do? 32-year-old families. Well, they are buying a home, buying a car, buying furniture, washing machine. They're consuming. Right. So my conclusion was, in 1983, at 32 years old, my cohorts are in a massive consumption phase. So the economy is in a consumption boom, because whatever the baby boomers do, there goes the economy. But you don't create wealth by doing today what everybody else is doing. You create wealth by doing today what people will be doing in the future. So I thought, 10 years from now, when I'm 42, what will 42-year-old families be doing? Oh, they're going to wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, for the last 20 years since leaving university, I've been consuming, and I have 23 more years to retirement. And I'm undersaved and underinvested. Therefore, there's a saving and investing boom coming. So how do you participate in that today, Mike? Well, you can buy shares in a bank, but that's not the bullseye, because you can get loan losses. Or you can buy shares in an insurance company, but neither is that the bullseye, because you can get underwriting losses. Or you can buy shares in a wealth management company. That's the bullseye. So what I did at age 32, armed with that thinking, logic, I went out and borrowed $500,000 at 32, 500,000 to put into one stock, Mackenzie Financial Corporation, at $1 per share in October of 1983. I was 32. $5, 500,000, $1 per share. 4 years later, it was worth $7 per share. So the 500,000 became 3.5 million. And then, if you had come to Toronto, or if you had gone to Calgary in 1970, and you'd have seen downtown Calgary, you'd have seen a lot of empty spaces. And if you could predict through to 2024, you would see downtown dense. What would you have done? You know what you'd have done, Todd? You'd have loaded up your front pockets, your side pockets, your back pockets with real estate. And then you start an aggregating vehicle to buy more real estate. And you'd say, friends, families, neighbors, come into this aggregating vehicle. We're going to buy more real estate because I can see where Calgary will be in 2024. That's what you'd have done. So that's what I did. Having bought Mackenzie, having had that experience, as I said, $1 became $7. 4 years later, 1987, in January of 1987, I start an aggregating vehicle, a fund called the AIC Advantage Fund. We had $800,000 in it when I first started it. And it had a singular focus: buy up all the wealth management companies. So we became the largest shareholder of Mackenzie, Trimark, which is now Invesco, CI, Investors Group, 20, and all of them 20%. Scepter Investment Council, TD Bank. So 800,000 in the aggregating vehicle became a company that's in 1987. 12 years later, $15 billion. So the principles led me. Today, same thing. It's rinse and repeat today, because we're having an energy transition. So we have started. We have loaded up our front pockets, or back pockets, or side pockets, and we have started aggregating vehicles so that Canadians can invest in energy, or theranostics, which is using nuclear isotopes to treat cancer. And as you know, as you age, here's another prediction. The baby boomers, as we age, okay, I'm 73 years old today. What do 73-year-old people think about? Well, I want to live long. I don't want to have a high quality of life while I'm here. Yeah. If we go back to the same hypothesis, we have this now the next largest cohort, the baby boomers, millennial are now the largest. But we control the wealth. So this cohort is saying, oh my gosh, I want to live long, and I want to have a high quality of life. So we're in the early innings of a healthcare boom. Because remember, whatever the baby boomers do, there goes the economy. But within that boom, as you age, the rate of cancer goes up exponentially. So we're in an oncology boom. And when you think of oncology, there are 3 modalities: surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and all brutal. But there's no fourth, which is treating cancer at the cellular level, zapping only the cancerous cells and leaving neighboring healthy cells alone. That's called targeted radionuclide therapy.
Yeah.
So that's an era in which we have, because again, PPP, Predict, Plan, Persevere, we have dedicated resources, expertise, in-house expertise to capitalize on that which is coming. It's an inevitable.
Yeah, so that's interesting, right? And I know that it's an area of expertise, Michael, and an area of significant interest. I mean, what lessons from investments in healthcare and innovation can our leaders learn from as it relates to your experience?
Well, if what I'm saying makes sense, the question is, how are you going to participate in it?
Yeah.
Right? It's a strategy. How are you going to execute on this strategy? Because ideas are a dime a dozen. Those who implement them are priceless. So I gave you two strategies, or both based on nuclear. And we've been doing this now since 2018. Yeah. And you'll note that it was at the beginning of October, Microsoft contracted with Constellation Energy to restart the 3 Mile Island plant number 1 and they're buying electricity they will be buying power from the 3 Mile Island, which, as you will recall, was the boogeyman of the nuclear industry. Now it's being restarted to supply power. So it's coming. It's here. Yeah. Google did the same thing. Amazon did the same thing. So how are you on the screen here on this conference participating? Well, I have to put in an ad, Todd. You mind?
Yeah. It's and I'm sure many of our guests are thinking about this. It's the management of risk as it relates to some of the decisions you've made, and I trust that, like us all in life, perhaps we had some deals that weren't so good, or maybe that they failed. And how do you manage through that? How do you balance between risk and the opportunities?
Well, risk, the management of risk is, especially if you are concentrated, is a function of understanding what you own. Okay? So I make sure that we have the resources to understand. If you don't understand, that's when you're taking risk. Okay?
Yeah, very interesting.
So it's but you can't create wealth if you diversify too much. In fact, Mr. Buffett refers to diversification as diversification. Wealth is created. That person, going back to how we were restarted, that person you're thinking of owned a few, not too many, high quality businesses that he or she really understand. That's how they manage risk. That's how business people manage risk, understanding.
Yeah, very interesting. And it is back to, I guess, the other conversation we're having about baby boomers. And true confessions, I'm a lagging baby boomer. I'm 62, so I'm a lagging baby boomer. But when I think about generational changes and shifts and demographics, which you touched on, Michael, so again, now thinking about business leaders today, perhaps younger than you and I, that are leading this new generation and new demographic. What do you think some of the things are that business leaders can capitalize on, and how would they go forward with this new generation?
So, I don't want to be prescriptive as to what they should be doing specifically, but I will be very prescriptive in how they should be going about doing. Look,
Okay.
and the perspective they should have. And the perspective is, you want to be successful at anything. You want to be the best carpenter, the best swimmer, the best business person, the best prime minister. It's a 3-step formula that will get you there. Number 1, identify a role model. Who before me has done the best job in the world at this endeavor? Identify a role model. Get the recipe from the role model. That's what I did, Mr. Buffett. And thirdly, don't change the recipe. Don't be so arrogant to change the recipe. Execute it faithfully. So role model, recipe, do the same. That's a framework. So if you want second framework, I'd like to, the prescriptive one. These are non-negotiables if you want to be successful. Is the following. Warren Buffett described it in the following quotation. To be successful over the long run doesn't require stratospheric IQ. Thank God for that. Unusual business insight or any particular inside information. What's needed is a sound intellectual framework for making decisions. And secondly, the ability to keep your emotions from corroding your framework. So guys, we only need 2 things. When we make decisions, we have a set of framework, principles, a value system that we superimpose whatever question we have at hand, against our framework, and the answer will come ricocheting back to us. And I added a third. Not only do you need framework, you need control over the only way you can control your emotions is if your framework is absolute, not relative. Okay? The golden rule is not relative, it's absolute. Okay? So frameworks should be absolute. You don't bend them, because of the environment, because of how you feel. So the only way you can control your emotions is to have frameworks that are absolute. And the third, so framework, control your emotions. Number two, and you need access. You need all three. 2 out of 3 isn't good enough. If you have access, you're born wealthy, so you have access, and you have control your emotion but no framework, you'll go to jail. You need all 3. But if you don't know that you need all 3, it's not just going to fall in your lap. So for all of us on the screen as leaders, I can't say you should be investing in a specific area. All I can say is there are some principles that if you follow, you'll be guided consistently right.
Yeah, that's fascinating, right? And some wonderful framework around that I think all of us can follow as we think about wealth creation and managing businesses in today's world. We only have a few minutes left, Michael, and I just a few questions have come in, and the one top of mind question, we're the men and women that are on this call today are CEOs, as I shared with you, and we got together last week. Over 2,000 members across Canada, coast to coast. Many of whom will be joining us live today or hearing this call later. When you think about business leaders and that are having such significant impact on the Canadian economy in today's world, when you think about their leadership of arguably 250,000 employees that they guide and lead, what would be that? What would be those comments that if you could reach out to 2,000 leaders in Canada, what would be the best advice you'd give them?
I would say, number one, you want to build a sustainable business, right? And sustain it. And there is an adage, another framework that I coined. It goes like this: success begets complacency, begets failure. The natural byproduct of success is you become complacent. Oh, we're good. You become complacent or arrogant, worse yet. And the byproduct of complacency and arrogance is failure. So therefore, if you don't want to be a failure, the things that made the business successful in the first place, those 18 qualities, make sure you go back to them and you put them into your constitution, and every single staff member should know those 18 qualities.
Right. Wow. This has been such a delight for me, Michael, to be able to be hosting today with you, and knowing that all of the listeners are going to be able to go back and listen to this webinar once again, this fireside chat. I know I've taken a bunch of notes. It was hard to keep up on some of the great intel, and I know at one point you called it non-negotiables. There was so much here that I'd say all of them were non-negotiable. So I really want to thank you for joining Tech Canada and our audience today. It's been a real pleasure from my perspective. Hopefully you've enjoyed the day today with us across coast to coast, across Canada, with all the Tech Canada members. Again, my thanks to you. I've had such a riveting experience with you, and hopefully our paths will cross again in the not so distant future.
My pleasure. All the best.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks.
Well, say goodbye to all, folks. Thanks for joining us today on today's call, and please take the time to share this webinar and go back and have a live or another listen to it and capture all the essence that Michael shared with us today. Again, my thanks. Signing off from Tech Canada. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.